The glow from the streetlight filtered through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the bed. Ethan kept his face buried in his pillow, refusing to look at Leo, who was propped up on one elbow beside him. A single note card with a physics equation stuck to his forehead. Trying to fall asleep with someone staring at you was unsettling enough. Trying to do it while that someone had your own meticulous notes plastered to his face was a special kind of torture. Leo wouldn't let him sleep. A hand nudged his shoulder, then fingers gently lifted his eyelid. "Look at the formula," Leo said, his voice low and serious in the quiet room. Ethan let out a sigh that was mostly a groan. He resigned himself and lifted his head, meeting the gaze of the boy whose forehead was a testament to misplaced academic zeal. Leo looked satisfied. If Ethan stared at him every night like this, he was bound to dream about him. It was simple logic. 5 minutes passed. Ethan found himself actually studying the scribbled derivation, his focus narrowing to the variables and constants. Leo, however, had stopped looking at the note card. He was watching Ethan. The lamplight caught the deep amber of Ethan's eyes, the long, dark lashes that brushed his cheeks when he blinked. Leo felt a familiar, restless itch in his fingers. He wanted to reach out to touch, but he couldn't. That was dangerous. If he let himself drift down that path, the dreams would come again, vivid and disorienting. He started to pull his gaze away, just as Ethan tilted his head, a small frown of concentration on his face. Then, without Ethan leaned closer. Leo froze. He watched, utterly still, as Ethan's face neared his. Those dark eyes were clear and focused. His skin still carried the faint, fresh pink from his shower, and his lips, a soft shade of rose, parted slightly. Leo barely registered the words. His throat felt tight. He was about to speak when Ethan's hand came up and patted his cheek. "Your formula is wrong," Ethan stated, his tone deadly serious. "What are you zoning out for?" Leo blinked, processing. "Huh?" Ethan's brow furrowed, a look of profound disappointment settling on his features. "You didn't pay attention in class again, did you? You promised. Even though we're not in the same classes this semester, you promised you'd try." The situation was escalating far beyond Leo's control. He had one simple note card, one basic formula, and he'd still managed to screw it up. In Ethan's mind, this could only mean one thing: catastrophic academic negligence. Ethan threw back the comforter with sudden resolve. "We're going to the study. I need to show you the correct transformation before you cement the wrong one in your head." Leo just stared, bewildered, as Ethan hauled him out of bed. "Come on now." The study was brightly lit, a stark contrast to the dim bedroom. Leo felt a profound sense of dislocation. The plan had been subtle psychological suggestion. Now he was sitting at a mahogany desk, a physics textbook open, while Ethan, in plaid pajamas, scribbled practice problems onto a legal pad. The tip of Ethan's pencil tapped the back of Leo's hand. "Start solving." Grumbling under his breath, Leo snatched the pad and began to work. By the time they returned to the bedroom and the lights were finally off, Leo was lying rigidly on his back, staring at the ceiling. Where had his flawless plan derailed? He replayed the evening but found no logical flaw. The method needed refinement, that was all. If he wanted Ethan to share his dreams, he'd have to be more strategic. The next day, during lunch period in the advanced placement wing, Ethan approached his friend, Simon, with a scrap of paper. He held onto a sliver of hope. Hypothetically, he began, why might someone make a mistake on this particular derivation? He hoped Simon would say the transformation was tricky, that it was easy to mix up the signs under pressure. That would mean Leo had simply been careless, not chronically inattentive. Simon took the paper, adjusting his glasses. He stared at it for a long moment. Someone in our section got this wrong? That's statistically improbable. Ethan's hope flickered. It's not someone from our class. But maybe it was just a slip, a mental lapse. Simon was ruthlessly logical. Do you forget to breathe when you're nervous? Ethan shook his head. Then there's your answer. Simon handed the paper back. Making this error is like forgetting to breathe. It's fundamentally illogical. Ethan's shoulders slumped. Right? Seeing his friend's dejected expression, Simon offered a weak consolation. I used to make mistakes like that when I was skipping ahead, trying to learn material before it was taught. He then quickly changed the subject, his own anxiety surfacing. Are you ready for the qualifier? I heard a rumor the finals are in Seattle. 3 days, maybe a week if you advance. The competition will be fierce. Ethan paused, his earlier worry eclipsed by this new information. A week? Simon nodded. That's the word. You'll definitely make finals. You could probably explore the city after. A week. Ethan mentally calculated the potential for drama. Leo wouldn't take that news well. That evening, at the sprawling stone residence, dinner was a formal affair. Leo's mother, Eleanor, ladled a rich, aromatic soup into Ethan's bowl. You need your strength, sweetheart, she said, her voice full of gentle concern. Leo told me all about your exhausting schedule. Ethan accepted the bowl, puzzled. Told you what? Leo sat perfectly straight in his chair, eyes fixed on his own place setting. Just that you're pushing yourself too hard with this competition. You need to build up your resilience. Ethan started to protest that he was fine, but Leo cut him off. Just drink the soup. It's good for you. Eleanor beamed, pleased at her son's sudden interest in nutrition. Earlier, Leo had secretly passed her a list of recipes. Venison stew, oyster bisque, braised oxtail. She'd been impressed by his research. The soups were fortifying, perfect for someone under mental strain. Ethan lifted the bowl. The scent was strong, earthy, unlike the usual broths. He drank it down without complaint. Leo watched, a quiet satisfaction warming his chest. His online research had been very specific. These soups were supposed to be highly effective. Soon, he and Ethan would be perfectly in sync, their subconscious minds walking the same paths. Ethan remained blissfully unaware, only noting that the nightly soups tasted increasingly potent. And each night, Leo would appear at his bedside, that hopeful, expectant look in his eyes, a note card once again stuck to his temple. One morning, before his alarm, Ethan stirred. He needed water, his throat parched. He moved carefully, trying not to disturb Leo. The movement woke Leo anyway. In the hazy twilight of dawn, he saw Ethan shifting to get up. A wild, hopeful thought surged through him. He bolted upright, his hand closing around Ethan's wrist. You had the dream, didn't you? He whispered, eager. Tell me. Ethan shook his head. Leo's hope crashed. He sat back, a cold disappointment settling in his stomach. If Ethan wasn't dreaming of him, then who? What? He swallowed. Was it a person? Or an object? I didn't dream, Ethan said, his voice rough with sleep. I'm just thirsty. I've been so dry lately. Leo deflated. That's it? His eyes drifted downward. Then he sighed, a sound of profound defeat, and flopped back onto his pillows. Stay. I'll get it. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed while Leo fetched a glass of water from the ensuite bathroom. Ethan drank it quickly, the sound loud in the quiet room. Leo watched, his jaw tight. All those supposedly miraculous soups were useless. The accumulated effects of the fortifying broths made themselves known that evening. Around 8, while working on calculus problems, a warm trickle started from Ethan's nose. It became a steady stream, staining his homework and his hands crimson. Leo's reaction was instantaneous and terrified. For a heart-stopping minute, he was convinced it was something grave. The family doctor, arriving promptly, diagnosed simple if dramatic overexuberance. Too much heat. Too many rich foods. Ethan sat on the leather sofa in the den, tissue plugs in his nostrils, looking young and slightly pitiful. What exactly has Eleanor been putting in those soups? He asked, his voice nasal. Leo's ears turned pink. He busied himself straightening a throw pillow. Just strengthening broths. Must have been too potent. We'll stop. Ethan nodded, then his expression turned soft and pleading, a look Leo remembered from childhood illnesses. Leo? Yeah. My qualifying round is the day after tomorrow. I know. You can stay up an extra hour to review tonight. Ethan continued, his tone deliberately light. The teacher said the finals, if I make it, are in Seattle. Could be a whole week. Is there anything you want from there? Maybe some smoked salmon? Leo stared at him, his face blank. Do I look like a man who wants smoked salmon? Ethan plowed ahead, a transparent attempt at diversion. So you want a souvenir Space Needle keychain? Got it. I'll find the shiniest one. Leo cupped Ethan's face, forcing him to meet his gaze. Who said anything about a keychain? Why are you only telling me this now? Ethan looked at the tissue in his hand. Because I got a nosebleed today. It was a calculated move. Leo's worry always manifested as relentless, suffocating concern. Ethan still remembered being 8 years old, preparing to visit his grandparents in Vermont. For days, Leo had clung to him, listing catastrophes. Highway pileups, flash floods, kidnappers at roadside stops. He'd only stopped when a weary young Ethan promised that even if something did happen, he'd find a way back. Hearing the answer now, Leo scowled. You have no idea what it's like out there. Whatever. I'll pack for you. This is infuriating. Relieved the storm had passed, Ethan brightened. Don't forget my pillowcase. I won't pack it. Leo shot back over his shoulder, already heading for the stairs. The next afternoon, Ethan stared at the 2 large suitcases in the foyer. It's 6 days, he said faintly. Not a transcontinental relocation. Leo crossed his arms. Are you planning to stay in Seattle? This is too much. I won't need half of it. You will, Leo insisted, his voice softening into a coaxing tone. Hotel linens are terrible. This is the bare minimum. With a sigh, Ethan gave in. On the morning of his departure, Ethan quietly set his alarm an hour later than he'd told Leo. He dressed in the dark, grabbed the smaller of the 2 suitcases, and slipped out of the house. Leo woke to an empty space beside him. He reached out, his hand finding only cool sheets. He was fully awake in an instant, his feet hitting the floor before his mind had fully processed. He thundered downstairs. The family's steward, Mr. Henderson, was arranging mail on the hall table. Good morning, sir. Young Ethan asked me to relay a message. He said he'll bring you back the most interesting piece of driftwood he can find, and he expects your homework to be complete for his review upon return. Leo stood in the grand foyer, utterly defeated. The charter bus from their private academy in upstate New York to Seattle was spacious. Ethan sat with Simon, who was nervously thumbing through a worn practice booklet. I don't think I'll final, Simon confessed. Maybe 3 from our section will. You for sure. And probably Alex. Ethan's gaze drifted to the front of the bus. In a window seat was Alex Chase, the class vice president. He was tall, with a runner's build, and wore noise-canceling headphones. He seemed serene, already asleep or deep in Mad Ion. The hotel in Seattle was a modern high-rise. Students were paired in standard rooms. Ethan's roommate was Alex. Alex's fastidiousness was immediate and thorough. The first thing he did upon entering was strip the beds and replace the linens with his own set from a pristine duffel bag. He then asked politely if Ethan minded if he used the shower first. Ethan said go ahead. As the water ran, he unzipped his own luggage. Leo, predictably, had packed a set of hypoallergenic pillowcases and a light blanket. Ethan made his bed, then texted his father and Leo a quick arrived safe. No immediate reply from Leo. He'd be in his fencing lesson. While Ethan was unpacking his sweaters, his phone rang. Leo's voice was a low baritone through the speaker. Bus ride okay? What's the room like? Text me your teacher's number. And your roommates? My roommates? The guy with the glasses. Simon. I'll send them later. I need to finish unpacking. Why the rush? Leo's tone sharpened a fraction. You didn't even describe the room. It's fine, it's just that, Ethan, I'm done. Bathroom's free if you want it. Alex's voice, clear and calm, cut through from where he stood, towel drying his hair. A profound silence emanated from the phone. There's someone in your room, Leo said slowly. He's showering. And he's telling you to shower. Is that why you wanted to get off the phone? Ethan sighed, falling back onto his mattress. It's not like that. It's the tournament arrangement. 2 to a room. I'm with Alex from my class. Another silence, heavier this time. So you're living with him for a week? Eating together, sleeping in the same room, sharing a bathroom? 6.5 days, Ethan corrected, ever precise. I'm back Saturday afternoon. Is there a difference? Yes. I still have to find your driftwood on Friday. Leo exhaled sharply. Is it the glasses kid? Simon? Don't call him that. His name is Simon. Fine. Simon. Is it him? No. It's Alex. Alex Chase. From across the room, Alex looked up from his book at the sound of his name. Ethan ended the call a few minutes later, after a series of promises about check-in times and dietary vigilance. Family? Alex asked, his voice mild. He had a sharp, intelligent face and a smile that seemed practiced. Ethan considered, then nodded. They seem attentive, Alex remarked. He said it pleasantly, but something in the way his eyes didn't quite crinkle made Ethan pause. Alex went back to his book, something literary and dense, not a textbook. Ethan finished unpacking, the fatigue from the long trip finally hitting him. He lay down, meaning to rest his eyes for 20 minutes, and woke hours later to a darkening sky. Panicked, he checked his phone. Simon had texted about dinner over an hour ago. He hurried to the hotel restaurant, but it was nearly empty, the hot food long gone. He grabbed 2 prepackaged salads and rushed back, only to find Alex already standing outside their room. A leather portfolio case in one hand, his expression unreadable in the hallway's muted gold light. Sorry, Ethan said, fumbling with the keycard. It's fine, Alex replied, the smile back in place. Inside, Ethan offered Alex one of the salads. Alex thanked him but didn't touch it. Later, after Ethan showered, he noticed the salad was gone from the table. He assumed Alex had eaten it. The next morning, when Ethan took out the trash, he'd noticed the housekeeping staff were haphazard with liner bags, and it bothered him. He saw the salad, untouched, at the bottom of the bin. Alex must have assumed he wouldn't look. Ethan tied the bag and carried it out, a quiet understanding dawning. Alex Chase's polite distance wasn't just fastidiousness. It was active, if subtle, dislike. This chilly détente continued until the third evening. Ethan, reveling in a rare moment of freedom from Leo's watchful eye, had bought 2 chocolate gelatos from a shop downstairs. He was sitting on his bed, enjoying one, the other waiting in its little cup, when his phone rang. He stared at the screen, then at the gelato. He answered, I'm drinking water. No, I didn't get ice cream. I know, I'm being good. I eat all my meals. From the armchair, Alex watched this performance with detached amusement. I can't do a video call. My data plan is almost out, Ethan pleaded, his voice cracking slightly. Alex almost smiled. It was such a transparent, juvenile lie. Predictably, the person on the phone wasn't buying it. Ethan scrambled, shoving the spare gelato into the nightstand drawer and tossing his half-eaten one into the wastebasket. He was about to hit the video button when Alex spoke. Wait. Ethan looked over, guilty. I can take it in the hall. You have chocolate, Alex said flatly. Right here. He pointed to his own upper lip. Ethan's hand flew to his face. He wiped it clean, muttered his thanks, and accepted the inevitable video call. Open your mouth, came the directive, loud enough for Alex to hear. Ethan's eyes widened. He swallowed. My tooth hurts. Can I show you later? The pause from the phone was palpable. Alex stared at the wall, a strange realization unfolding. He had built a narrative around Ethan Stone, the supposed illegitimate child living off the family's goodwill. He'd expected cunning, manipulation, the polished veneer of someone who had to fight for everything. Not this. Not a boy telling laughably bad lies about toothaches and data limits to what was clearly an overbearing brother, guardian. Whoever it was on the phone wasn't treating Ethan like a rival or a charity case. The tone was exasperated but familiar, intimate in a way that defied Alex's assumptions. "Do you think I believe that?" The voice from the phone said, weary. "You could try," Ethan whispered, shooting a glance at Alex. "Just open your mouth." Ethan did, looking like a chastened child. Alex listened, a knot of uncomfortable tension forming in his chest. The voice listed Ethan's childhood susceptibilities to sore throats and ear infections, the precise brand of cough syrup he could tolerate. It was an archive of intimate knowledge. And the final comment, "If you spike a fever in the middle of the night, no one there will know what to do," stung Alex with an unexpected sharpness. He was right there. Was he considered nobody? After the call ended, Ethan looked mournfully at the nightstand drawer, then at Alex. "I'm just going to run this down to Simon," he said, pulling out the saved gelato. "Be right back." Alex said nothing. He watched Ethan leave, then stood abruptly. He went downstairs to the convenience store and bought 4 different ice cream bars. He ate them all systematically, sitting at the desk. He spent the rest of the night paying for it, locked in the bathroom as violent cramps gripped his stomach. During the 5th prolonged visit, he discovered, to his utter horror, that the toilet paper roll was empty. He sat in the cold, clinical silence of the hotel bathroom, a profound and total despair washing over him. This was rock bottom. An hour later, Ethan, who had been peacefully reviewing problem sets, finally noticed the extended absence. He knocked on the bathroom door. "Alex, you okay in there?" "I'm here," Alex's voice came, strained but controlled. Ethan turned to leave. "Could you," Alex forced out, each word in agony, "slide a new roll under the door?" 5 minutes later, salvation arrived. Alex emerged, pale and hollow-eyed, moving like his bones were brittle. He looked like a statue on the verge of crumbling. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from Leo. "Why aren't you in bed?" "My roommate is having a hard time," Ethan typed back. "Might need to talk." "Why?" Leo asked. "Digestive issues," Ethan replied. The response was 6 periods of eloquent disbelief. Ethan cleared his throat. "Alex." Alex stared into the middle distance, willing the universe to erase the last 3 hours. "Good luck tomorrow in the finals," Ethan offered lamely. Alex didn't move. Ethan got ready for bed. As he passed Alex's bed, he quietly placed a box of anti-diarrheal capsules on the nightstand. When Alex finally felt human enough to move, he saw the box. He stared at it. It was a stupid, naive gesture. They were competitors. This was giving an opponent an advantage. He took the pills anyway. Later, in the dark, Ethan's voice was small. "Alex, you asleep?" "No, I won't tell anyone." "About tonight?" Alex didn't answer. He was beginning to understand the dynamic now. Ethan offered a quiet, non-judgmental loyalty. It was disarming. "Thanks," Alex muttered finally. "You're welcome." A pause. "Could I ask you a favor?" "What?" "If anyone asks what time I've been going to bed here, could you say 9? Sharp?" Alex blinked in the darkness. "That's it?" "Yes." "Sure." A longer silence stretched. Then Alex spoke again, his voice low. "Alki Beach has the best low tide for beachcombing. Around 5:15 a.m. Ethan was quiet, listening. "The shells are cleaner after the tide goes out," Alex added, as if commenting on the weather. "If you're going, wake me. I'll show you the less crowded section." The finals concluded without incident. That evening, Alex found himself sitting next to Ethan at the team dinner. The next morning, in the pre-dawn gray, they took a cab to a secluded stretch of beach. Ethan, barefoot, his jeans rolled up, moved slowly along the shoreline. examining each shell with intense scrutiny. Alex, wearing shoes and a light windbreaker, hands in his pockets, watched from a dry log. He revised his theory again. This wasn't a sycophant trying to curry favor. This was something else entirely. Ethan's focus was pure, almost reverent. Back at the hotel, as Ethan rinsed his treasures, he frowned at one beautiful spiraled shell. A small chip marred its edge. He looked at it sadly, then at Alex. "This one's damaged," Ethan said. "But it's clean. Do you want it?" Alex hesitated, then held out his hand. Ethan placed the imperfect shell in his palm. On the bus ride home, Alex took the seat next to Ethan. Both slept most of the way. When they were 30 minutes from the academy, Ethan's phone lit up with messages. He replied to Leo, then to another number. A genuine smile, bright and unguarded, spread across his face. Alex saw it and felt a pang of that old cynical judgment. So easily pleased. A few text messages and he was beaming. The bus pulled into the circular drive. Students streamed out, reclaiming luggage from the undercarriage. Alex was meticulously wiping down his suitcase handle with a disinfectant wipe when Ethan called a goodbye. He looked up to return the gesture and froze. A man was walking toward them, waving. He had Ethan's eyes, Ethan's smile, though his face was more weathered. "Kiddo, over here." Ethan's whole posture changed, lighting up from within. "Dad, when did you get back?" The man, Ethan's father, ruffled Ethan's hair. "Just now. Didn't wait long. Look at you." He noticed Alex then, and his smile widened warmly. "Hey there. You must be Ethan's roommate." "I'm Ben. You boys want to come over for a proper meal? No more hotel food." Alex's brain short-circuited. The practiced smile felt plastered on his face. "No thank you, sir. Appreciate it." He watched, utterly stunned, as Ethan and his father walked away, talking animatedly, their resemblance undeniable. All the whispered rumors, the assumptions about Ethan's place in the Stone household, evaporated in an instant. He wasn't a charity case or a secret. He was just a kid with a very attentive best friend and a dad who picked him up from school trips. Alex pulled out his phone, found the contact of the friend who had first propagated the illegitimate son theory, and deleted it without a word. Ethan spent the evening in the cozy, book-filled living room of his father's craftsman-style home. Ben cooked a massive pot of spaghetti and meatballs, and they watched a replay of a baseball game, though Ethan was mostly just happy to sit with his dad. "Is the AP track too much?" Ben asked, his brow furrowed. "We can always switch." Ethan assured him it was fine. "It's Leo who's struggling in his regular classes," he admitted. Ben chuckled, relieved that the bond between the boys seemed unchanged. Later, as Ethan was in his room working on a half-finished model rocket, he heard a soft tap-tap-tap on his window. He opened it to find Leo, in sweatpants and a t-shirt, climbing effortlessly over the sill. In one hand, he held a pair of Ethan's boxer shorts, which he'd apparently plucked from the clothesline outside. "These are the ones with the little rockets on them," Leo observed, holding them up. "Goo. Suits you." Ethan snatched them back. "Give those back." Leo flopped onto the bed. "You're so distant now. We used to share everything. We are not sharing underwear. My dad says we're like brothers. Brothers share." "They do not share this," Ethan said, carefully folding the boxers and tucking them into a dresser drawer. Leo watched, undeterred. "Fine. But you'd let me wear them if I really wanted to. It'd be tight. But for you," Ethan ignored him, choosing instead to focus on the immediate problem. "You know my dad is here. How are you getting home in the morning?" "I'll leave before he wakes up. He makes his own coffee, right?" "What time?" "Usually around 5. Leo groaned, setting an alarm on his phone for 4:50 a.m. The next morning, the alarm buzzed. Leo, operating on pure instinct, silenced it and canceled the backup. He dressed in the dark, eased the window open, and dropped softly onto the dewy grass. He straightened up and found himself face to face with Ben, who was holding a garden hose, mouth slightly agape. The two stared at each other in the cool, silent dawn. Leo broke the silence, his voice painfully polite. "Good morning, Mr. Ellis." Ben's grip on the hose tightened. "Leo." "Hi." He managed a strained smile. The front door has a bell. Might be easier on the joints." An hour later, Ethan emerged from his room, dressed for school. He stopped in the doorway to the kitchen. Leo and his father were sitting at the small oak table, a plate of homemade blueberry muffins between them, an atmosphere of profound awkwardness hanging in the air. Ben cleared his throat. "Morning, kiddo. Breakfast is ready." "Over muffins," Ethan whispered. "What happened?" Leo kept his eyes on his plate. "You said he gets up at 5 for coffee. You didn't mention he gets up at 4:30 to bake from scratch."